welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess videos once again. Let's do Bobby Fischer. This is a historically significant game. I think, if I understand right, 1956, this is the first time Fischer meets Sammy Reshevsky. And Fischer is playing black in this one, and he plays the King's Indian defense. Now, Kasparov, in his fabulous book on Fischer, My Great Predecessors, he describes several of the confrontations between Fischer and Reshevsky. It was a colorful, very difficult relationship. There's no question about that. And Fischer does share some of his games in his My 60 Memorable Games with Reshevsky in 1961, 62, and 63. I think, don't quote me on this, I'm not exactly sure, but I think this is the first time they met. Fischer's going to open with the King's Indian defense, and we'll see how he does against the great Reshevsky. Reshevsky was he just missed the chess world crown. He was exquisitely good. He fianchettos his bishop. Fischer will castle. Right now, pronto, immediately, let's get the castling done. Knight c3, he's going to prepare his center. Always a good thing to bump the one pawn one, then the next pawn next to it too. It prepares the center very well. We shall see if it works in this case, right? Knight f3, he's got both his knights out now. Knight c6, he's got both his knights out now. This looks like it's going to be an epic battle of epic proportions on an epic game with an epic video. Whatever. Hey, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Or wait, no, the song says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah. Come on, get it right, Professor. So what was I lying about? Now he comes to, he castled, so he does the A6, and now the B3, again strengthening that C pawn. Rook is going to come to B8. Interesting. He's developing every piece he can because he knows Reshevsky is a really dangerous player. Bobby's going to hit the wing. Interesting. See, he is not confronting the center just yet, and he's not giving himself a small center by pushing this pawn either, is he? No, he's coming right to the wing. So this will be interesting to see how Reshevsky handles this. He takes it, and Fischer takes the B pawn, and the rook comes to C1. Interesting, isn't it? Bobby's going to come to the A5, and now here comes Reshevsky right up the gut. Wing play calls for a response in the center. Just pointing that out. Wing play. Tickle the knight. Let's see what happens. Center play. Tickle the knight. See what happens. Very interesting. Bobby's going to pursue this, and now Reshevsky will take the pawn with the bishop. Of course, that bishop is incredibly valuable. And now knight b7, and that's a questionable move. What the heck? Knight b7? E will take f6, and of course the bishop will take the pawn. We could see that coming. Don't take it with the pawn and double up your pawns. b4, and now again Bobby brings the bishop to f5. What is he doing here? Is he mesmerized by Reshevsky's power? C6 is what it's called for. He has to stop Reshevsky's advancement in the center. This is the theme. Bobby's been playing wing stuff. Reshevsky's been playing center stuff. Just so we understand. There it is. Center. The response from the wing, center. The response from wing play, center. That's for real. We see this pretty much every game, right? Bishop will take the bishop. Eliminates that long diagonal. Rook will take the bishop, gaining a partial open file. Queen comes to d7 to protect the pawn even further and come up to give support to his bishop if he needs it. And queen's going to come to c1, giving support to the rook. Uh-oh. Let's keep our eye on the prize, shall we? Well, never fear, Fischer is here. Now Fischer's got all of his army developed, so that's not a bad spot for the rook at this point. And now look at this. Queen h6 and you're going, oh! Yes and no. That's a better move. Because now the bishop's in trouble. Right? Yeah. It's okay. It's all good. Sammy does do a good move here, but here is where Fischer, by pressing this pawn. Now, this is a great lesson taught by Silman. And of course, all the grandmasters talk about this. For every push forward that you press a pawn, you leave weak squares in its wake. That's just the inevitable nature of how chess is. So, by pushing this f6, Bobby weakens the white squares around his king. Yeah, the white squares all together are now weak. This is something that Reshevsky needs to take note. The question is, will he? That's the question. Now, here comes knight d4. Yeah, that's still an option. And Fischer's going to try to re-coordinate his pieces. He doesn't want to leave his pawn too far behind. He wants to bump up and support that pawn from that rook. There's no reason to give Fischer an option to get that b file. Right? So the a-pawn push is very necessary. Truly. And now the knight to f7. Tickle the queen, and the queen will come back to e3. So not much was done that way, right? That's what they're seeing. And now, knight to e5. Very interesting. Knight to e5. He's centralizing the knight. He's getting a good central location. And Reshevsky immediately says, no, I'm not going to give you that outpost. And that really would have been a great outpost. Not permanent, but there's no point in leaving it there. Letting him have that knight there and begin to coordinate some kind of an attack. No. Go ahead and bump him. Yes? And now Fischer comes here and tickles the queen again. And the queen will come to d2, and now Bobby is going into a full court press on the wing. h5, the rook will come to e1, hitting a target here, although at this point it's not going to help him a lot. Hitting a target here, although at this point it's not going to help him a lot. And let's just kind of... Every pawn push leaves a weak square in its wake. He is pushing the pawns in front of his castled king. True. Bobby is leading with his pieces, though. So now there are times when it's excellent to lead with your pieces. That's not the issue. Sometimes it's better to lead with your pawns. If you lead in an attack with your pieces, you must expect this. Sincerely, you have to. And so Bobby knows what he's doing, but now his knight's back to h6. And this is excellent on Reshevsky's point. He has advanced the king side. He knows that technically there may be something coming on the last rank. Put the king up there to protect those pawns, because Reshevsky is not leading this side with his pieces. If he desires to keep on cruising, he can push the pawns backed up by powers, and that is a very good way to carry out a kingside attack. Instead of just pushing the pawns, be sure and push the pawns and give them support with the pieces. We see Reshevsky apparently beginning to set this up. So this is really interesting how this works. Bobby brings his king up. Notice, again, king's a fighting piece because Reshevsky put his piece up. And true, he's all the way over here on the edge of the board. I understand that. But it is one move closer to the center. Bobby reacts by the same principle. Bring his king up. He's not going to leave it back there to try to play catch up. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So king f7 and now queen e2. He'll bump the queen back and knight to g8. The knight has nothing, unfortunately, over here to do that's going to be valuable. So rather, this is kind of cool to watch. Rather than try to get something going, you know, putting the rook here and doubling the rook and then attack and so on, which is silly because he can just bring his rook. But what I'm saying is, rather than trying to get something going on over here, Fischer recognizes the knight has no future here and it is on the rim. So positionally, that knight is just not good. So take the time to relocate it. It's a powerful piece. Don't just leave it alone. Make sure all of your pieces get better squares. So we know there's going to be adjustments to make in our game. This is what we're seeing Fischer do. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Rook e to c1. Here we go. Now the doubling up of the rooks. Hitting that pawn. It's an isolated pawn. It's a backward pawn, technically. So in other words, doubling the rooks gives Reshevsky a target. Now, it is double guarded. I'm aware of that, but it gives him a target. That's the essence of what we're seeing here. However, e6 is a potential target, but not with that bishop there. I don't know why the player said queen e6 here. That wouldn't have worked at all. That would have been silly. Oh no, it wouldn't have. Yeah, queen e6 would have. Queen e6 would have won it. Truly. I'll let you work out the logistics. The bishop would have taken and the pawn would have taken check. And then the queen would have had to have taken the pawn and then the knight. Well, I don't know. He says it would have won immediately, but I'll play it through. I'll play it through eventually. Right now I want to show you this, that Bobby, rook e to c1, and Bobby went a7, so he's going to look to double his rooks. And then queen e3, and it's here that Fischer resigned. Now, the text says Fischer resigned here. However, they also note that there are several sources who say that Bobby ran out of time, so he lost on time. We're just not sure which way. Here is why, though, they say his place is not very good. when he went to queen 3, rook c to a8 to double the rooks, and now the knight takes the f5. There's the move that clobbers him. Yeah. And so once the g-pawn takes the f5, now the queen goes e6, check. And now it's over. So that is what he was missing entirely out. Because, of course, the queen's going to take. The pawn's going to take. That leaves the king to take. And now you've got that. Brutal, right? Shazam. There goes his double whammy. Then if he is going to go here, now Reshevsky just had targets. So that was why. I knew there was a queen 6 move in there. I might have miswritten this. So anyway, so Reshevsky gets one on Bobby. The principles that we learn here are really incredibly important, though, on how to maneuver when you're not in a good place. Unfortunately, Bobby got caught with his knight on his home square, essentially, in trying to maneuver. Reshevsky just seemed to have a little bit extra edge. It's a young Bobby Fischer. Later on, and we will see these games, they played several games in tournaments. Fischer got his revenge. Him and Reshevsky did not get along. There's some really spooky stories in some respects between the two of them, so maybe I'll tell them as I'm playing through these later games. So on their first encounter, Reshevsky got the point. So Fischer took notice, however. So there is your Backyard Professor Chess video. Thank you for watching my chess videos. I appreciate it. Be good, do well, have fun, make lots of friends, be good citizens of your countries, and I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.